Yeah, very good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Lasham Daily Briefing for Saturday, the 28th of June, 2025. We'll start with the general synoptic picture beginning yesterday and see a reasonable amount of frontal activity associated with this low out in the North Atlantic. A warm front that had led that, a bit of a warm sector now with a high pressure centered towards sort of Belgium and another high down in the Bay of Biscay. Overnight, that high moved away. We've still got that high pressure centered down to the south of us and a cold front approaching from the north. By midday today, not a huge amount of progress for that front, and it's not going to cause us any problems today. And then as we can see throughout into midnight tonight and into tomorrow, it still hasn't quite reached us and doesn't look like it's really going to. So it's not going to be a problem for the next few days. What we do have, on the other hand, though, is quite a lot of fairly thick cloud. And we can see that with the wind, we've got quite a bit of wave in the northern parts, so over in sort of North Wales and into Scotland a little bit as well. Whereas down in our area, it's just fairly thick, starting to thin out a little bit now. If you can see from first thing this morning till about now, there is a little bit of a change there. Thankfully, though, there's no precipitation associated with that cloud other than up to the north, but nothing that's going to affect us on the radar. And the Met prediction doesn't show anything that will cause us problems either. Thinking about that low cloud, though, looking at the RAF Odium TAF, I beg your pardon, the META. And they've got 210 degrees, 10 knots, so slight, moderate southwesterly, overcast at 500 feet when that chart was last updated about 20 minutes ago. Whereas Farnborough, they do have a TAF. Their current observation was broken at 800 feet, and their TAF is suggesting broken 700, becoming SCAT 2000 between 8 o'clock and 11 o'clock local. So it should lift fairly early, and we'll get flying sort of mid-morning, I would imagine. Spot winds to the south of us, 260 and 250, 20 knots, and then actually 15 knots at 2,000 feet, so reducing with height. And to the north, a little bit more southwesterly to it, 240, 20 knots at both 1,000 and 2,000 feet. Surface wind, you can see that light or moderate southwesterly across the airfield. They're probably around 10 knots for most of the day. Probably not quite as much southerly component as this is showing, maybe slightly more west-southwesterly. But we'll be operating from runway 27 today. And we can see by looking at the local Met Office forecast that we do have quite a bit of westerly in it all throughout and into this evening as well. Low cloud there shown on the weather symbols, lifting sort of around at 10:30, 11 o'clock, and then the sun coming out by lunchtime. Reasonably warm today, around 26 degrees, feeling that a little bit cooler with the reasonably brisk wind, but not stopping that high UV in the warmest part of the day. So do take care and look after yourselves in terms of the sun. Visibility is starting off as good, becoming very good. So it's actually probably going to be quite hazy for the initial part of the day and improving somewhat into the afternoon. GFS for temperature, they're giving us about 24 degrees locally here with a G point of 17. Looking on the webcam on the south side, we can see the southwesterly breeze on the windsock there. We can also see that fairly low cloud base. I'd estimate it's around 800 feet off the airfield at the moment. And if we look at the weather station, you can see we've got just over 2 degrees difference between the temperature and G point. So that's what's giving us this fairly low cloud base. As we get that temperature increasing, if you remember, the GFS was showing a G point of not more than sort of 17 at 1 o'clock. So the as the temperature itself climbs, as will the cloud base, and then hopefully it will eventually break up and we'll get a reasonable day. Sky sight then, the left-hand side is an excerpt from the point potential flight distance. You see, it's not fantastic. There's a little bit of possibility up to the north once this cloud's cleared. And looking at the point forecast itself, fairly low clouds shown there and quite dense up until about 1:30 when we start to get a bit more heating on the ground. But thermic from sort of late morning climbs up to maybe 3,500, 4,000 feet above Lasham, with strengths sort of 3.5 to maybe even 4 knots later in the day. Temperature up to about 26, 27 degrees shown here on SkySub, with generally a westerly or southwesterly wind around 10 knots. Pressure is staying reasonably high, about 1024 all day, climbing into tomorrow to be that little bit higher. Cloud distribution then on top meteor, starting at 9 o'clock local. And you can see the orange illustration on the chart here. That's a cloud that's below 500 feet of fog, whereas the other sort of lighter yellow is just a low cloud sub 1,000 feet. If we run that through, well, you can see at the moment it's really quite spread across the southern parts of the UK. But as we run that through, by 10 o'clock, it's starting to break up. Still a little bit low, Lasham, but certainly by 11 o'clock, it's setting up. We've got that bit of sort of auto Q below the Q, or below the stratus, I should say. And running it through again, it does start to open up. Certainly flyable. Now, we do keep this sort of band of clouds here throughout today. But later, by about 8 o'clock this evening for the evening group, it should be clear skies again before it begins to fill in later into the later night. Night times, on the other hand, we've got a few here. The sort of usual suspects, 30, we've got Barton Stacey live firing. 31, you've got Thursley for flare firing. That's not until later on this evening. At 35, we've got a BBMF fly past of Hook. That's from 1323 to 1353 Zulu, and that's surfaced to 2,400 feet. Over at 34, that's Tidworth, where there's also BBMF fly past. A little bit earlier, 1312 to 1342, and that's surfaced to 2,700 feet. And what you can see is there's a sort of cluster heading up this way. A lot of that is associated to the north with the BBMF activities. There's quite a bit of quite a few flypasts scheduled in today. So I would advise, if you are going cross country, just keep an eye on where those specific areas are and the times for them. We've also got 40 paragliding winch launching at West Ilsley, and that's from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock Zulu, up to 1,900 feet AMSM. We'll move on now to the local airfield brief. Starting with the early front section, and we can see here it's quite significant low cloud with stratus and scattered cumulus actually by sort of 10 o'clock. Base rising to about 1,000 feet by 10, 30, 11 o'clock local, with some thermal activity beginning. We'll be getting 2,000 feet according to this between 1 and 2 o'clock local time, and it's going to remain there more or less throughout the day. Maybe the base getting up to 3,500 feet into the later part of the afternoon. Some thermal strength of up to 4 knots though later in the day, and visibility increasing to 40 kilometers. And in the summary, we've got low cloud clearing throughout the morning to a hot and bright afternoon. Their maximum temperature being 27 degrees today, so warmer than the local metaphysical forecast. For glider bookings, we've got a 1 K21 on booked instruction, and there's also a K21 on the casual list. And we've also got a K13 today for trial lessons, which will get going once the cloud base has lifted. There is good single-seater availability on both fleets, and there are currently three on the casual list, and we require an instructor to help if anyone's around. Of course, the simulator is available as normal if you want to get something productive done this morning. And a reminder about the Boyne expedition. Got the 3 weeks in October. Places are starting to book up now, so don't be late. Get in touch with the office and secure your space as soon as you can. But nothing to report from 2XL today. And in summary, we've got high pressure to the south with a cold front approaching from the north. Low cloud to begin, which will be clearing mid-morning, and a southwesterly breeze throughout. We'll be operating runway 27 today with cables on the south. Please be ready when the cable or tug arrives. As always, please don't land or taxi across the disused runways shown in red. And finishing off there with your airfield setup with the winch on the south side grass aeroplane from the north. Any grid appetite would be in the normal place, but I can't imagine that's going to be much of an issue today. And landing to the rear of the launch point. That's all from me this morning. We'll be a fairly slow start, I think, but we'll be ready as soon as you guys are. So we'll see you out there. Have a good day and keep it safe. Thank you very much.